One of the truly great sweeps of Jiu-Jitsu is the scissor sweep. Unfortunately, it tends to get disparaged as a viable move in Jiu-Jitsu precisely because it's one of the first moves you learn. Because, it's so basic, everybody knows it, that won't work. When in fact, mechanically, it's actually one of the strongest sweeps. Why is it so strong mechanically? Because it employs the principle of double directionality. Your two legs go in opposing directions. They work on the same principle as a pair of scissors. You can take a pair of scissors that are very blunt and they will still cut through paper very, very well. You take a knife, which only has a single direction of cutting. If it's not sharp, it won't cut paper. But a scissor can be very blunt and still cut very effectively, precisely because the two blades cross each other, and it creates a great deal of mechanical advantage. The scissor sweep is based on exactly the same principle, and like a pair of scissors, it has tremendous mechanical advantage. Instead of just sweeping in one direction, one leg sweeps in one direction, the other physically cuts your opponent's base of support away and doubles the strength of the sweep. So mechanically, it's very, very strong. What I typically observe when people go to use it, it's not the sweep which is messed up, but rather the application of it. People tend to use it at inappropriate times. And often there's a few key details which they omit, and as a result, the sweep doesn't seem to work so well at international level. But done properly, the scissor sweep is more than capable of knocking down even the toughest opponents. Let's have a look at the classic version when your opponent is on two knees and emphasize the main points that will steer you in the right direction to make this work against even world championship level people. So we'll start off demonstrating it from a closed guard situation. From closed guard, we're going to go in on our training partner and we're going to get the classic grip right up here so that my knuckle is right next to my training partner's carotid artery. My second hand is going to take a cuff grip on my training partner, just like so, and hold out here. Once we get the collar and the cross collar, we're going to focus on shifting our hips out to the side so that my legs form this kind of shape and I'm on my side. Now I take my knee across and I put my knee pointing right towards my training partner's opposite shoulder. Don't have your two knees together. It's too easy for your opponent to put weight on top of you. Don't make this common mistake of putting your knee on top of your hand. That completely destroys your ability to control your opponent's head. Make sure your hand is on top of your own knee, and we end up here in this position. Okay, this is where we want to start. It's also very important. Your training partner should feel a mild tension in your legs as you go to control him. If your legs are limp, he's going to find it very easy to move around. So my knee points towards my training partner's shoulder. My second leg is in position just like so. I put just enough tension on my training partner that if he goes to move around here, he feels the tension held between my legs just like so. Now, what I want to do is use my hand in the collar to draw my training partner's body weight forward. At the same time, I want to take his head over this knee. Why is this a big deal? If I don't take Placido's head over his own knee, he can easily base his left leg up. And that will kill the scissor sweep in its tracks. So what I want to do is take this top leg of mine and move my training partner's head right over his own knee. So when he goes to base up with his leg, he can't do it. He can only base with his leg when his head is in the middle of his knees. If I take his head over his knee, he can't do it. Now, in one motion, I bring my foot down here. Make it quick. And then I perform a reap with this leg going to my left and an extension or a scissoring of my top leg going to my right. And those two together will put my opponent down with authority. Now, the most common mistake I see here is people step off, then he scrambles, and you end up with no score. You want to finish with a back heel. Your foot back heels into his hip. So when Placido goes to get up, your back heel gets you into top position. Now, will you get mounted on him as I am here? To be honest, I think that's rather unlikely. It's almost certain your opponent will post his two hands, elbow escape through, and from here, we'll put our foot in the middle, and as a result, we end up on top in their guard. And that's just fine. It's a pretty damn good result. So once again, from another angle, training partner is there in front of us. We're going to go through, and we're going to get this grip locked up on our training partner like so. We're going to open up our closed guard and we're going to turn onto our side. Now from here, my knee points at my training partner's shoulder. Second leg in preparation, just like so. Tension running through my legs. So as Placido goes to move around from here, he feels some degree of tension. Now I take his head and I move his head over his own knee. At the same time, my legs bring him forward. Then my reaping leg comes down and knocks him down to the floor. I hook in here with my legs and I climb up into the top position. From another angle. Training partners here in our closed guard. From here, sleeve cuff, collar grip. Doesn't have to be that high. You're not trying to strangle anyone here, so you don't have to penetrate too deeply on the collar. We take our hips out to the side, like so. We bring our knee up to point in towards our training partner's shoulder. And then from this position, he feels some degree of tension in the body. Then when we see the time is right, we bring the head over the knee. So when he tries to base out, it's very, very difficult. Now from here, my leg is kept down. We hit that first movement that knocks him over. Now we start the action of climbing up on top. Good back heel gives us top position. Some more key elements. Okay, we've seen sleeve cuff, shallow collar. Guard opens. We turn onto our side using that shrimping motion. Knee comes in, hand above your own knee, and we're looking like we're ready to attack now. Foot goes on our training partner's hip, so we can create that tension that brings his head over his own knee. He goes to base out with his leg. It's physically impossible. If his head's in the middle, he can base out anytime he feels like it. So from here, put his head over his knee. Then just drop your foot and knock him down. Okay? Now, important detail with regards getting on top. Sleeve cuff, collar. Shifting our hips. Knee comes in, foot there on our training partner's hip. He goes to move around. It's tough. It's good controlling position. He feels tension in the leg. Now, we use our left, in this case it's my left leg, my top leg, to put his head right over his knee. From this position, we go in, we'll knock him down. Look at my foot. It's at his armpit. My foot's down here at the hip. You'll always put it easily between his legs. Have your foot up high. Now, when you pull up and he goes to put it between the legs, it's a lot more difficult for him. Rake back and drive your body up and into top position. If he gets to two hands on the hip, he goes to put you back in guard, just be ready to work from top guard position. That's fine. With Placido's back to the camera, you'll see the scissoring effect now. We start off, closed guard situation, we open up our guard, and we'll turn onto our side. Knee, foot. He goes to move around from here, it's tough. Now we're in a position where you can send this guy over. Okay? Now, you will find it is mechanically a very strong sweep. What we need to be able to do is be able to get to our grips effectively and hold this guy in place. I just demonstrated it from a closed guard situation, but you must understand you don't have to start from closed guard. Anytime the guy's on two knees, you can get this move to work. So from open guard where our opponent's on two knees, we might just start off gripping in like so, and we just go collar sleeve. From collar sleeve, we go feet on the hips, and there's our starting position. Now, right from here, look how we just put that tension on our training partner, and immediately sweep them straight over and into top position we go. Okay? So we're demonstrating it's part of a closed guard series of events. Don't think you're limited to closed guard. You can use it from any open guard situation where he's got two knees on the mat. Now, we just looked at the classic scissor sweep when our opponent's down on two knees, and either from closed guard or open guard, we can just knock them down. We saw the right way to approach the move mechanically. Now let's look at a very, very common situation, arguably the most common situation. That's where your opponent goes onto one knee. So from a situation where we're working from any form of guard, either closed or open, but we'll take it from closed guard since that's what we're concerned with here. As we go to work from the classic scissor sweep position, he puts his right knee up. And as a result, you're in a situation where he can start knee cutting you. If you don't do your job properly and he steps over your leg, that's exactly when they can start knee cutting you. Now, it's very important from here. When he puts the knee up, we want to make sure we never create situations where he can just put his right knee down,
Here or here?
inside my legs, and then from here put his left leg up, and he can step over the leg. That's one problem you didn't deal with. Second problem is he takes his knee up and he puts his knee across my thigh, and this too can cause problems. Either way, it's bad. So what should we be doing? Well, as always, we want our knee pointing at our training partner's shoulder. As always, we want our hand on top of our knee. As always, we want to control our training partner's sleeve cuff. And then from here, you can hit that same idea of creating tension in your training partner's body by bringing his head over his own knee, just like so, and bringing the guy forward. Now, previously, we were looking at reaping methods where we used our leg to reap. These methods can work on someone with a knee up and a knee down. They can work. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but they are definitely more difficult to get to work. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to place our foot here on our training partner's knee. And we are going to hit that scissoring action combined with a hisagaruma action. Hisagaruma just means the knee wheel. I put my foot on my training partner's knee. I don't kick it, I push it. And as I push his knee back, I combine that with the scissor action and knock this guy straight down to his back, just like so. Making sure we always come up to our elbow. Don't stay down here on your shoulder. It's hard to win scrambles from your shoulders. Make sure you come up on your elbow. As always, we want that foot back heeling into our training partner, and we want to come up and start gaining height advantage over our opponent. He will almost certainly put hands on your hips and go to elbow escape, so we're always ready to take our foot out and end up on top of this guy. So once again, training partner is in closed or open guard, doesn't really matter. And we see him as we go to move into position, put a knee up. So we're going to put our foot on our training partner's hip and take the classic scissor sweep position. My left knee pointing at my training partner's left shoulder, my hand on top of my knee, some degree of tension in our training partner's body, and we start moving our training partner's head over the knee. As we do this, we just take our foot down here to our training partner's knee and we just push everything up and knock this guy over, coming up to our own elbow just like so. And as a result, once we get up to a knee like so, now we're in a position we can start walking over this guy and take top position. From another angle, from closed guard situation, we get a hold, move our body out. There's the classic scissor sweep position. We see our opponent put his knee up. So from here, put our foot on his knee. So we push the knee backwards. You create a very unstable base for your opponent. That becomes even more unstable when you start extending your leg out. We're going to tilt this guy straight over, making sure we come up to our own knee just like this. Now from here, we heist so that we get a height advantage over our opponent. If he tries to get up, it's very, very difficult. So what most of your opponents will do, put hands on you like so, bring their legs in. You could drive across their body, or if you're worried about ashi garami, you can always pull your leg into the middle, and then from here start coming on top. From another angle. In closed guard situation. We get our grips, turn our body out to the side, we see this guy put a foot up. No problem. We get into our initial start position, we place our foot on our training partner's knee, we push out his base of support, and knock him down to the mat. Climbing up on top for the win. Key elements. We never want this guy's hand going to the mat. If I grip above the elbow, it's pretty easy for him to get a hand to the mat when I try to sweep him. So generally we prefer to control the end of the lever, the sleeve cuff, just like so. Once we see this guy's knee come up, if there's tension in the legs, it's hard for him. He goes to move around from here. It's going to be tough. We bring our foot down, try to go to the end of the lever, down here. Just push, don't kick him. Push, and knock him down. Now, very important with your hisagaruma. Let's take this from 45 degrees to the camera. When I go to push, I don't just push outwards. My foot can slip off. I push, and as the leg extends down the mat, now I curl my foot around his knee and I go towards the center line with my foot. And that's what really knocks him over. So my foot initially pushes down, catches, and then goes in. So straight, curved. There's the initial position for holding them. We find the knee. I push straight. When I feel he's getting close, my foot goes around the corner. Then we scissor and knock him over. How it would look in a competitive situation. As here in our closed guard. We get to our grips. We move our body out to the side and see this guy's foot come up. No problem. We knock him straight down and end up on top. This is classic scissor sweep, but when our opponent puts a knee up, we modify it and add the notion of garami, pushing the knee to disturb our opponent's base more effectively than if we use the reaping method, which is more appropriate when someone's on two knees. We can actually hit a good scissor sweep when someone stands up. Traditionally, the move is taught on someone on two knees. In most cases, it's used on someone who's on one knee, but it can also be used when they stand up. I don't recommend it in situations where they stand up straight. There's much better things you can do. But if they stand up with their body weight forward, and that will often be the case because you are controlling their collar, after all, you're breaking their posture through the collar, you can hit a really nice scissor sweep when their knees come off the mat. So, in a situation where a guy's down on two knees in our closed guard, and from here, we control their posture like so. When we come out into the classic scissor sweep position, we see this guy we're pulling here on their body, we see them taking their knees off the mat. When they come up into the standing position, from here, we're going to get opportunities to put our foot right inside our training partner's knee. Again, don't kick people, guys. You'll run out of training partners very quickly if you do that. Just place your foot on your training partner's knee. We're going to push it down the mat as we lengthen our body out. When you feel this guy's base is pretty compromised, then my left leg starts that scissor action and brings his foot over to his own knee. And when you combine all these aspects together, you hit a very nice scissor sweep that knocks him down. As always, you want to come up to an elbow. As always, we want to heist and get onto a knee, and then from here, we start driving forward to get our top position. We'll show it now. Plus, it goes back to the camera. First, we move our body out just like so. And he reacts, scissor sweep, and goes to stand up on us. We just place our foot in and knock this guy down. From another angle. From here, you've got him well extended. Foot goes inside your partner's knee, and as a result, we get a good knockdown. From another angle. There's that initial grip. There's your collar grip. There's your movement out to the side in the classic scissor sweep position. As he tries to pull away from us, goes up into standing position. That's what we're looking for. Foot goes on, extends them out, and knocks them down. How it would look in a competitive setting. Catching, moving out, getting the classic position, and then from here, away we go with the classic scissor sweep, performed on a standing opponent. Again, when the knees come off the mat, you're always better off with that garami movement, where you extend your opponent. When they're extended, their base is very vulnerable, and you can often flip them over. Now guys, we've been looking at a whole bunch of positional moves. Now it's time to focus on submission holds. When we work with a gi on, what are the main submission holds for older athletes? What are the ones that are going to work best of all? Well, it's my belief that in general, when we work with a gi on, I always favor collar strangles over everything else. When we looked at top position with a gi, the primary method of submission we looked at was strangles from the back. Now, we're working underneath people this time, so it means we're going to strangle them from the front. The number one strangle, whenever you're underneath people and you're facing them chest to chest, will always be Juji Jime. There are a bunch of variations with them. Let's start with what I believe is the most important one. Okay, out of all the strangleholds from bottom position, this is the one you'll be using the most for the rest of your career. So let's get good at it. Okay, we're going to start off with Placido on 2 knees. From here, we're going to start by opening up our training partner's jacket. If the jacket is tightly bound to the body, it's hard to get the hand into strangle. So we're going to start off just by working on our training partner's jacket and loosening things up. Now, in a match situation, this will almost always happen organically. You don't really have to do that, but here in a demonstration, I first open up my training partner's jacket to facilitate getting my hand in. Now, fellas, with the Jiu-Jitsu, we want to get our hand in and set it properly. Here's a piece of advice for you. Jiu-Jitsu from bottom. From top, you don't have to do this, but from bottom, you do. You want to get your hand as far behind his neck as possible. If we go to 45-degree angle to the camera, okay, if I go shallow with my hand here, this will always create a weak strangle. So what I'm looking for is to get the back of my hand on the back of my training partner's neck so that my hand contours around Placido's neck. The number one way for me to do this is a 2-on-1 lapel feed. If I just try to walk my hand through like so, Placido will just grab my hand and push it off. And it's going to be hard for me to get in. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our training partner's jacket and we're going to put the hand in and snap the grip over. And we're going to use the biting method where I bite my hand up to get the highest possible grip so that the back of my hand contours on the back of his neck. So once again, we're here working with our training partner, and we start by lifting the jacket out, and I get the hand and I set it in just like so until we get that good grip. Now what Placido wants to do is to post on my elbow, other hand Placido, and then move his head underneath to relieve the pressure. That's what he wants to do. So what we need to do is get used to the idea of not only setting our hand, but also setting our elbow so that our elbow goes lower than his chin. If my elbow is too high, that's when they post and duck. So what we're always looking for is that good heavy elbow position. Once we get there, the next big step is to take our training partner's head to a position where I can get my elbow around it. Don't grab with your hand, come in with the whole elbow. And then I drag his head down and I create a situation where my thumb can enter my training partner's jacket and lock it in just like so. So I have 2 grips, one here, the other here. You will notice my palm faces myself, the strangle hand palm faces myself, and the finishing hand faces away. So my 2 hands point in opposite directions. Let's understand that the first hand that goes in, that's your strangle hand. That's the one that does the majority of the work. We use that to pull our opponent's head down, and then we come in with the whole elbow. So when Placido goes to posture up, it's very, very difficult. We use this to pull his head to our chest, and then we get our thumb inside and we work our hands into the strangle position so that my hands are very close together behind Placido's neck. Now I flip his head out to the side and I put my ear next to his ear. So when Placido goes to push me away and relieve the strangle, it's very, very difficult. If my hands are out here and he pushes on my hands and shoulders, it's very, very hard for me to finish the strangle. I want to finish in here, close. And then from this position, when we bring everything in, we just bring our elbows to our body. Don't make this mistake of lifting your elbows upwards. Bring everything in close and your ear close to him. So your finish is a contraction, not a lift. So once again, we start off opening up our training partner's jacket and then setting the strangle hand in, biting the hand to get to a good position. Now we drag our elbow down low so we're head to head. Now we quickly come up and catch our training partner with our elbow. Now we have our thumb ready and we put the thumb inside our training partner's jacket and we bite our 2 hands closer and closer together. So they're almost touching behind Placido's neck. Don't worry, I'll show you another angle soon. Then we cast our training partner's head out to the side and we put our own head right next to his. So as Placido goes to pull me away and push and do all those things that people do, we just close off for a very good strangle. Now Placido will do it with your back to the camera so people can see the hand position. So from here, we start off opening up our training partner's jacket and biting our hand inside. Immediately we close the hand over and we use the biting method to ensure a good grip. My first hand goes inwards like this. And as a result, we can bring the head down and lock. Now my thumb goes in and we bite the hand a second time. You will see that my hands are pretty damn close together here behind Placido's neck. As Placido goes to push himself out of this dangerous situation, we just flip everything over to the side and we come in ear to ear. Now, even if Placido stood up now, it would mean nothing. The strangle comes on immediately. Okay, Placido will tell you, when you get your hands set like this, it's not like, oh, this is going to take 5 seconds to put me out. It's almost immediate. It's a very, very efficient strangle. Now, fellas, I have to show you a bunch of details with this move. I'll explain it very simply. This is the #1 submission for older, less athletic people from bottom position. It's the best one I can possibly show you. This is the one you want to be damn good at. Okay, this is the most likely way in which you, as an older, less athletic person, are going to put the lights out on someone who's younger, stronger, and fitter than you are. I don't want to give you a superficial analysis of the move. I want you to be damn good at it. Okay, so that your opponents fear you in the bottom position. If they ever feel that hand coming up, you see that they're getting scared and moving away from you. Use it as a threat so that when your first hand goes in, you get that second hand in place, they're getting antsy the second they feel that first hand enter. Once they start to respect you in these positions, you'll be much harder for them to deal with you overall. So as we play off in this position, we start off in a usual kind of open guard. We put that hand in, we sort out our first hand. Now we often start with a push, fellas. Okay, one of my favorite tactics from here. I don't go straight to the strangle. What I almost always do is I push into and I get a pushback reaction. And it's that which gets our elbow in good position. Now I put my head down and I focus on getting the thumb inside. If I'm out here somewhere, fiddling away, he just pushes away from me and it's all gone. When we go to get everything in, crunch everything over the top of them. Put them in the breadbasket of your stomach and chest. Don't do it out here. It's easy for Placido just to whip his head out. The other way. Yep, exactly. Good. And then he's gone. Remember, guys, I have to get my elbow from this side of Placido's head to this side of Placido's head. While all this is going on, I've got to keep him here in the breadbasket. I take the crown of Placido's head and I lock it in my sternum and I put my head over the top. That's when I do my adjustments. Now I push his head out to the side and I slip my elbow over and I put my own head right over his. As Placido goes to explosively move out of this position, he can even stand up to his feet. You're just going to follow, and from here, the strangle is immediate. Okay, so let's quickly recap some of these main elements. Okay, first, don't just go in like this. Don't just reach in and hope for the best. Use a 2-on-1 method where we open the jacket with one hand so that we can facilitate the entry with the other. When you first go in, don't just try to pull. He's going to put hands on your chest, 2 hands, and you'll never pull him in. So start with a push. Then when it's time to go, move your whole body to bring him back to you. Over goes the elbow. Put him in the breadbasket. So when he tries to pull away from you, that's quite difficult. That's when your thumb goes in. Then you just cast the head off to the side. Put your head over. He goes to pull away from you and just connect your body weight in and go into your strangle. Okay? Now, another big important detail, plus it will take this one 45 degrees to the camera. Hip position. When you go to finish him, I'm going to recommend throw your hips to the same side as the finishing hand. So you've got your strangle hand on one side, finishing hand on the other. Get your hips out on the side of the finishing hand. Finish on your side rather than flat on your back. Okay? So here we are. We start off opening up our training partner's jacket. First hand goes in. If I just pull, Placido's going to resist. So we start off harassing this guy with a good old push. When we go to bring him in, move the guy, lock in and lock. Now, when we get our hands in place for the strangle, watch how I throw my body out to the side. I'm on the same side as my finishing hand. I don't put myself square underneath them here, okay? It's not 100% wrong to do this, but it's not optimal. What I want to do is to be out to the side. That gives my secondary hand a better chance of closing things off. As Placido goes to pull away from me now, it's almost impossible, okay? That little angle doesn't look like much, but it makes a big difference when you're time to actually strangle someone for real. So let's look at it now with my back to the camera. We start off in front of our training partner, and here we are. We open up our training partner's jacket, and the first hand goes in. From here, we start with a push, and then we pull away from our training partner and bring him into the bread basket. So he tries to yank out of here. It's quite difficult. Even if my opponent jumped over my legs now, it wouldn't help him. He comes into side control, he'll strangle out from there, okay? That's why this move is so good at negating athleticism. When your opponent's stronger than you, fellas, if you have that first hand in and you get your thumb, it's over. It doesn't matter which way he goes. It doesn't matter whether he puts his back on the ground. It doesn't matter whether he jumps across side. It's done, okay? If you get good at putting that first hand in, and you can get good at that at any age. Remember, guys, the last thing you lose as an older athlete is your isometric grip strength. That's the last thing you lose. You can be 80 years old and still be damned effective with this move. You've lost everything else. You've lost your legs, every other aspect of strength. You've lost all your explosion, your ability to stand up, all of it. But the one thing you'll still have is your grip strength. And that's exactly what Jiu-Jitsu works with. So we start off and we get good at this idea of setting that first hand. Once it goes in, you are dangerous from this point on. Okay, as we start moving with this guy, that's what we're looking for. Once you set that second hand, boom, and lock it in place, doesn't matter where it goes. If Placido tries to throw his back to the ground in this direction, we just follow up on top, and we're in perfect position now to go in and strangle. If Placido jumps in across my side, passes my legs, that means nothing. I'll just finish him right here with a quick strangle. If he stays static right where he is and tries to fight me with his hands, it's no good. You just bring your head to his head and finish. If Placido goes to stand up on me now, it means nothing. You just get our legs out to the side and it's done. Okay, once those hands get into that kill position, it's lights out for your training partner. It's got a tap. This is the move you want to get good at. You want to be able to hit it with both of your hands. And no matter how old you are, you're always going to have that fundamental grip strength. Okay, it's the last thing that'll leave you as an athlete. So one more time. We're here working with our training partner, and we start off looking for the usual grips, and there's our hand going right into place. Now we start playing, we bring our training partner's head down to the bread basket, and we lock our hands. Have confidence, guys. The only thing that can stop you once you lock your hands is your opponent's head coming out this way. That's the only thing that can stop you. Okay, so your whole thing is to cast his head out to the side and then get your two elbows together. When we finish, the two elbows come together. If I lift my elbows, that's what gives him the space to duck his head out. So from here, we're always looking to bring the two elbows in close together like so. We're always looking to get our head as close to his head as possible. The further my head from him, the more his hands can come in and start interfering with my ability to strangle. Do you see what's happening to my right hand, fellas? It's going over Placido's jaw. It's uncomfortable for Placido. It's not going to finish him. It's only when my head comes to his that my wrist goes into the carotid artery. The more my arms extend, the more my strangle degenerates. So we're always looking to get everything as close as possible with our training partner, okay? Now, one last little trick with leg position. Very often it's a good thing to put your 2 feet on your training partner's hips. I still want you to get your hips out to the same side as the finishing hand. I still want that. But it's also a good thing to put 2 feet on the hips. So, in a situation where we start off with our training partner, we go in and catch our training partner. Very often from here, we'll put our feet on our training partner's hips, just like so. And I can move my hips far out to the side when I do this. So when Placido goes to move around and defend himself, those feet lock onto his hips. That enables me to bring my hips up high off the ground. Sorry, Placido. They enable me to bring my hips up and bring body weight into the strangle. And as a result, we can get tremendous tightness. So that's another excellent finishing position for you to work with. We're looking at Jiu-Jitsu, mate. Our project is to make you damn good at this move because it is the #1 most realistic method whereby older or less athletic people can reliably submit faster, younger, more athletically gifted opponents. Now, our big thing is we want to get that first grip. And we've seen the #1 way of doing this is to employ a kind of primping of your training partner's jacket to make sure it's nice and open so you can get the hand in, because it's all about how deep you can get that first hand. If your hand can go around the back of the neck and lock up, you're going to strangle a lot of people with this move. If your hand goes in shallow like this, there's better strangles you can do from here. We'll look at another good strangle when the hand goes shallow. But when you want Jiu-Jitsu, you got to go in there. That means we need a 2-on-1 lapel method where we open up our training partner's jacket and get the hand in. Now it's about bringing the head down to get our second thumb inside. Question is, how you do that on the guy who knows this is your favorite move, knows you're good at it, and he's already thinking, his warning bells are going off at this. The second he feels this, oh no, that old guy's going for fucking Jiu-Jitsu again. What are we going to do? Well, in these situations, here's our favorite way to work. He's a garami. I put my foot on my training partner's knee. I pull with my cross grip, and I use my foot to push out his knee. Placido has to put his hand on the floor to save his balance. The second we see that, we just go straight over the top and we lock up and we get that thumb inside our training partner's jacket. And you guys know where this goes. We pull everything down to the mat. We get our feet right there on our training partner's hips so that we can lift our hips up off the floor. And as Placido goes to fight his way out of here, there's so much weight, courtesy of those feet contoured into your training partner's hips as you lift your pelvis. It's so hard for the poor guy to get away from you. Let's look at this from another angle. Okay, Placido's here in front of us. We start off with the usual kind of hand fight, and there's our hand working its way around the collar. Okay, we get that grip inside. I'm trying to pull his head down. Placido's posturing up. He can't do it. No problem. We push, and we get that hand down to the mat. Immediately, we come over to the top with the elbow, and we get him down into the bread basket, and we're fighting to get that thumb inside. Guys, do you see how close my hands are together? They're almost touching. That's where you want to be. From here, we get everything down. We put our head over our training partner. We get our feet close to his hips, just like so. So as Placido goes to put his hands in and interfere with that stranglehold, it all comes on so quickly with our feet on the hips like so. Okay? Now here's some good news for you fellas. You get two choices with this. I've been demonstrating this idea of attacking here, but you can also attack on this knee. So you have a choice between either one of his knees. If I miss on this side or he blocks me with his hand and I can't get there, I just put it on this knee. And we get exactly the same effect. We just push with our foot and we force his hand down to the mat. Then we immediately go over the top and we get that hand in place. This poor Placido tries to get out of this position. Even if he jumps across my side now, it's so tight in this situation, but it's just done. Okay? I'm not going to recommend to you that you let someone jump across side, but I am demonstrating to you it will still work in that non-optimal situation. So, using your feet on your training partner's knees is a great way to break your opponent's balance, force a hand to the mat, and bring his head down. And when the head comes down, you can go over the top with your elbow and get those hands close together. Remember, fellas, one hand pushing away, like so, palm facing back to yourself. Second hand over the top, palm facing away. One towards you, one away. There's other ways to do it, but this is the number one method when you're in bottom position. That's the one I want you to be the best at. We just looked at Hisagaruma as a method of improving our performance with Jiu-Jitsu. Now let's look at my favorite method of using our feet to set up our strangle with our hands, and this is the double elevator method. This is a very, very useful method. I want you to get good at this one. So again, we've got a guy on two knees in front of us, and again, we use a 2-on-1 lapel feed. We go in on our training partner and fix up our grip and lock in. Now, this time, how are we going to operate? We're going to bring our training partner's head down. We're going to lock in like so. The most common problem we face here is people will take their hands and extend them on our shoulders, and now I can't bring myself head to head. Now when he brings his chin down, I can't get to the carotid arteries, and as a result, the strangle fails. Whenever we see this, we take our 2 feet in as butterfly hooks. We pull our training partner in, and we perform a double elevator that forces poor Placido's hands to the mat. That enables us to get ear to ear. First thing we do here is we test his balance. If Placido comes in with his hands and tries to interfere with my strangle hands, that means he has no base of support. And so I just tilt him straight over. How do we do this? He brings the hands in. We just hit like a elevator on top into the mounted position and the finish. Okay? So what do you think Placido is going to do when he feels that? Do you think he's going to accept being swept into the mounted position with a strangle? Of course he's not. He's going to put his hands back down on the floor. But when he does that, there's nothing between your hands and his carotid arteries. So we come in on our training partner, we go in, he starts interfering with his hands. We go underneath him, we hit double elevator, we force his hands to the mat. He's reluctant to base out he's reluctant to do that with his hands because I'm going to take him over to the mount. So now I just bring him in, we come up, and we strangle right here for the finish. Okay, this is one of the most common and one of the most realistic methods of strangling out tough opponents who do a good job of resisting with their hands. You get those strong athletic kids and they're pushing away while you're trying to strangle. So, well, what do I do? Now you know what you do. You scoot underneath them, you use both of your feet to lift them up into the air. So here we are, working with our training partner. We focus on getting that first hand in. We lock, and up they go into the air. Now we just strangle, and it's done. Okay. Usually what happens is you drop them on the floor, and from this position, go in and strangle. You can strangle them in the air, but more likely you're going to drop them down to 2 knees and finish. Now, what if your opponent's like, no, I know what you want to do. You want me to drop onto 2 knees and strangle me. And so he drops into a tripod position and keeps his knees off the mat. Don't worry, just put your feet on his hips. So if we get a hold of this guy, we bring the head down and we hit him with the double elevator. And when we go for the forward shift, he puts his feet on the floor. Don't worry, just put your feet right on his hips. Okay, it's even better. Now as Pastor goes to defend himself, we take our hips up off the floor and it's done. Wow. Okay, so this is a very, very strong way of working. Just from one more angle.
It would be cool if you put somebody to sleep in the air.
I think you get style points for that. They give you an extra bonus 2 points in Jiu-Jitsu. So we start off getting that hand in. Always trying to get as far behind our training partner's neck as possible. Here's a visual cue, guys. If your thumb is in front of his ear, it's unlikely to work. What we want to do is get our thumb behind the ear. Okay? That's what always is our goal. Now we start that push-pull, and as a result, we can come up and fix up our grips. Placido gets his defensive hands in place, and as a result, it's very hard for me to strangle out here. I go and lift him up into the sky. Now, you could strangle him in the air. That's one option. You could drop him to his knees and put your ear next to him. That's another option. If he keeps his feet on the floor, then just put your feet right on his hips, and as always, elevate your hips and get to your strangle. Okay? So, using double elevators, a very, very realistic way of improving your performance with Jiu-Jitsu from bottom position. Here's the most important insight I can give you with Jiu-Jitsu. 90% of the work of the strangle is done by the first hand. That's why we call that one the strangle hand and the second one the finishing hand. Again, 90% of the work of the strangle is done by the first hand that goes in. The better you set the first hand, the less work you have to do with the second hand. And of course, the higher the chance you'll actually submit someone in a competitive sparring situation. You have to be able to get your hand as far around the corner as possible so that your knuckles cover the back of your training partner's neck. The visual cue that I want you working with is your thumb knuckle. The base knuckle of the thumb should be behind your training partner's ear. This is the optimal position. If you can contour your hand around behind your training partner's neck, I'm telling you now, you will finish a lot of people with this strangle. If you can't do that, you're not going to finish many people at all. That's the simple truth. So we have to be damn good at setting that first strangle hand. That's got to be the defining feature that's going to make you either succeed with this move or fail with this move. So let's look at what it takes to actually get that hand properly set. Okay, we understand now we have to get our base knuckle on the thumb behind our training partner's ear. If we're in front of the ear, it's unlikely that we're going to strangle people. There's other strangles we can do, but not Jiu-Jitsu. So the first key that we looked at was the idea of the 2-on-1 lapel feed. And that certainly helps. But now I'm going to introduce you to the great key. From here, if I face my opponent with my chest, it is almost impossible for me to get my knuckles behind his neck and my thumb behind his ear. Again, if we face each other square on, it's almost impossible. And the more I try, the easier it is for Placido to take his chin down to his chest, and now I don't even cover his carotid arteries. What we want to be able to do is turn and blade our shoulders to him. If I face him square, I limit how far my hand can move around the corner. So once I've made the 2-on-1 lapel feed and gone in, we do something else. We turn our shoulders side on. And from the side on position, we bite the hand. 1, 2, 3. And now you've got the grip you need. And of course, the next big thing is to get your elbow lower than his chin. If my elbow stays up higher than his chin, you'll never strangle people. So elbow down. I'm going to recommend as you go elbow down, take your hand from here to straight. Bent, straight. So 2-on-1 lapel feed gets us inside. If I just go in here, I'll never be able to bite my hand up. So get close to the target that you want. And then turn your body side on. And it's from here that I can get the angle that I need to get my whole hand behind my training partner's neck. Get your elbow as close to the sternum as possible. The only way you can get your elbow to the sternum is to curl your wrist inwards. That's what brings my elbow in. And then it's all about my second hand going elbow deep over the head and pulling him down into the breadbasket. It's from here that the second thumb can penetrate. And now it's all about passing everything around the corner and getting to our finishing position. So, passing those back to the camera. We start off with the 2-on-1 lapel feed. Right now my chest is facing him. That's good for getting that first grip. But at some point we've got to turn our body somewhat side on. Even better when I start fighting for angle. Okay, that's what's going to enable you to get your hand all the way in behind. And it's now that we're going to be able to go through and fix up our grips. It's now that we're going to be able to get 2 feet to the hips and go into those deadly strangles. Just going to demonstrate the same thing now from a closed guard situation. From closed guard, we can also hit the Jiu-Jitsu. Now from here, as we open up our training partner's jacket, we're going to get that first hand in. We're going to move our body out to the side and open up our guard so we can start pushing. And look how my hand gets all the way around behind my training partner's neck. Now as Placido goes to pull away from me, it's so difficult for him. We come up off the floor, we get our elbow around our training partner's neck and pull him in nice and tight. And there's our hands so close together. And then from that closed guard, we convert to feet on the hips. So as Placido goes to posture up and move around from here, we just take our hips off the floor and it's done. Okay? So it's always that same theme. Someone's in front of us. When we get a hold of our hand like so, we're always looking to get that hand all the way around the corner. So look how I present a side-on bladed set of shoulders to him. And I'm always looking to get out to an angle and get that good initial grip on our training partner so we can pull that head down and get our hands in close together like so. Okay? From a closed guard situation, same idea. From here, we get that first hand in and we start turning all the way out to the side and getting that angle. And that's what enables us to get that grip. Okay? Once we get that grip, from here it's an easy thing for us to bring the head down and fire that second hand over the top. And then from this position, feet on the hips, and it's done. Okay? So there's the idea of the bladed shoulders. Turn side on, get an angle, and that's how you get your hand and knuckles behind the back of your opponent's neck. We've been looking at the classic Jiu-Jitsu. This is where our strangle hand, our palm faces ourselves, and the finishing hand, we go thumb inside and we strangle with our hands set like so. So one, the palm faces myself, the other, the palm faces away. This in my mind is by far and away the most effective way to attack in most cases with Jiu-Jitsu. However, it does have one important deficiency that needs to be covered by another form of Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. We've seen that once we get our first hand inside and start going around the corner, our modus operandi is to get the thumb inside and go to strangle like so. Okay? Your opponents know this. And so what they will often do is create a situation where I cannot bring the head down. They will start posting on your shoulders and you feel like it's very, very difficult to bring the head down. If I cannot bring the head down, instead of me going over the top of my forearm to lock a strangle, we're going to go underneath our own arm. The higher my opponent's head, the easier it is to go underneath my own arm. The lower my opponent's head, the easier it is to go over the top with my elbow and lock up our primary strangle. Okay, so we look at our opponent's head. We're always trying to bring the head down. And if we can, then we use the classic strangle, the most important one. Okay, most of the time you can bring the head down because you can always interrupt your training partner's base. You can always elevate them and distract them. But there's always going to be that day you cannot bring the head down. In these cases, we take our hand underneath our own hand and both of our palms are going to face towards ourselves. So normally we go palm towards, palm away, palm towards, palm over the top of our own wrist, away. This time we're going to go under and we're going to grip 2 palms towards. So it's quite different. Here is the standard method. My forearm of the finishing hand goes on top, palm away. In this method, it goes underneath and palm towards. So both of our hands face towards ourselves, and then we curl and pull everything in. So here we are working with our training partner. I bring my hand underneath and I bring my ear across the other side and I lock up just like so. Now as Placido goes to pull away from me, from here we transfer everything across and find ourselves in the perfect finishing position, okay? I want you guys to experiment with your head position. If I go in here and strangle, it feels very, very efficient. If I bring my head across to this side, it feels much less so. So our head position is a little different now, okay? Our head finishes on the same side as the strangle hand, as opposed to the opposite side. So it's quite a different form of Jiu-Jitsu. Once again, we start off getting the first hand in. I can't bring his head down, so I go underneath my own hand. My ear comes in close, and I focus on punching my hand through and locking. Now from here, as Placido goes to pull away from me, I just pull my body in, and we're set with a strangle. It's not quite, I think you'll agree, Plus, it's not quite as strong as the other one, but it's still going to put your lights out. So once again, we start off in front of our training partner. First hand goes around the corner, and we figure for whatever reason we can't bring the head down like we want to. So instead we throw something almost like an uppercut that goes into our training partner's jacket. We bite the hand in and lock. Now we come in ear to ear with our training partner. We pull everything in nice and close. As always from here, we're looking to get our feet to our training partner's hips. As Placido goes to bench press his way out of here, it's very, very difficult. Okay? Let's have a look at another angle. So,
it comes on softer than the other ones.
Yeah. We lock up and get our grips. Ordinarily, it's all about bringing the head down and then locking. Now I can't bring the head down, so I go in and my hand goes all the way through and punches as high up as I can get it. Now we close our wrist in and we bring our head so my chin touches his neck. So when Placido goes to pull away from me, it's very, very difficult. And we just drag him into the classic guard position and strangle. So the 2 hands come in and strangle like so. And this is an excellent backup method whenever you can't bring the head down. Again, normally, strangle hand, second hand goes on top, palm away. This time, we bring our head to the opposite side and we go under. So 2 hands face ourselves. Instead of going over with palm away, we go under with palm towards. Instead of having my head on the same side as the finishing hand, we have our head on the same side as the strangle hand. And then we just push in, drag them on top of us, and strangle. Now, guys, did you remember when we first looked at Jiu-Jitsu, there was a problem associated with it that looked like this? Sometimes you'll get that first hand, you'll use your hands to go in, and the guy sees that your elbow is too high. He posts it and he goes underneath. Okay, do you remember how that was a fairly common form of defense to a Jiu-Jitsu mate? The idea is that I need to get, for Jiu-Jitsu to be successful, my elbow has to be low. Sometimes when we first go in, the elbow is a little higher than maybe it should be, and the guy's smart. Maybe you've done the move a couple of times and now he's out. Okay, so what do we do in these circumstances? In these circumstances, we go through into a spinning Jiu-Jitsu mat. I let him hit the move, and my 2 hands come in together, and we grip more or less like you would grip a baseball bat. Okay, so starting off in here, Placido does a good job of ducking out. Our second hand comes in, and it locks as close to our own hand as possible. I recommend biting your hands in place in the usual fashion, so that your hands become like a baseball bat around your training partner's neck. Now from this position, we go in head to head. As Placido goes to shove me around and go to pass my guard, we just let him pass. And then from this position, we just fall onto our side and we strangle very, very efficiently. Okay? We just pull him in, and we hit basically a baseball strangle, as it's often referred to here in America. You bring your 2 elbows in together and finish this guy from bottom. I'll just demonstrate the finishing position for the camera because you couldn't see what was really happening here. Okay, first, hand in, just like so. Okay, it's like he beats that hand, good, and goes over the top. I let my hand come around to this side. So you see how my first hand is right here. I don't want to be all the way around. It's going to put too much pressure on your wrists. So when Placido beats my elbow, I put my second hand in and I walk my two hands to the back of his neck. So that the blade of my hand, like a karate chop, I think it's the first time we use the word karate chop.
You looked experienced. You looked experienced.
And we lock right there on the carotid artery, just like so. Second hand goes in, and they're fairly close together. The closer the better. And then we use our head position like so. Now I just throw my body onto its side, and I just pull him in super close. As Placido goes to bench press his way out, it's done. Okay, and you just finish the guy right here on your hip with your two elbows very close together like so. Okay, so let's have a look at this as it would be done in a live situation. From a situation where we start off with our training partner, we go in and we get our first grip and he goes in to duck it. As soon as he ducks it, my other hand comes up. Now we take our hands around the corner, we walk everything up and we bring our head in nice and close. Now we just physically throw my body through underneath them, we drag them on top of us, and we get to our strangle. Okay, the more you throw your body, the better it is. This is one of those moves where you could easily see a scheming old man taking out a much younger, more talented opponent through deceit and trickery, which are the best friends of old jiu-jitsu players. So let's have it one more time. We go through and we get our grip on our training partner. He does a good job of coming over the other side, and we get our two grips in together and walk them in nice and close. I didn't even wait for this guy. I throw my own body around the corner, and then from here we just start walking away from him. He thinks he's getting a pin, and as a result, he goes right into the strangle. If we just rotate this way. So, where do I want to be? There's my hand grip. You can see my left hand is almost over the top of his neck, second hand in place, and I finish on my side. Don't finish flat on your back. Finish on your side and pull him down to your hip. As Placido goes in to interfere with his hands and put his hands in place, we just close everything and it's done. It's just like a tourniquet around the neck. It just gets too tight, too quick, and it's very hard for an opponent to recover from. So once again, we start off just like so. He ducks our head, and we reposition our hand so that the blade of your hand is right there on his carotid artery. Second hand comes up, and we just lock right in here, like holding a baseball bat. Now we put our head down and we just throw our body all the way around the corner like so. As Placido goes into the pin, it's an illusion. It's a pin where he gets strangled out. And this is a very, very effective way of adding to your Jiu-Jitsu arsenal. Now, here's another version of Jiu-Jitsu which is very, very effective, especially when people are coming in close and crowding you. We're going to do this one from overhook situations. If we just have our training partners cross the pel, that's the time we had the variations of Jiu-Jitsu that we looked at. Now, in kata Jiu-Jitsu, that incorporates your opponent's shoulder into the strangle. So, how's this going to work? From a situation where a training partner is in front of us, he comes in, and however it's happened, we've got to an overhook on our training partner's arm. It's like so. We'll rotate this way a little bit. Good. Now, from this position, we've got this grip in place. We're going to open up our training partner's jacket, and I'm going to take a hand, and I'm going to lock right there inside our training partner's lapel, just like so. We're going to post our hand on the floor, and from here we're going to come up, so we get a height advantage over our training partner. Now we're going to take our hand, palm up, and put it on the back of his neck. I'm going to punch up with my left hand so that there's space for my fingers to go in. And we lock our two hands together and we use the biting method to tighten everything up. Once we get there, we just sit down to the floor and we throw our legs over the top of our training partner's neck. And from here, the stranglehold is extremely tight. Okay? So, from a situation where we start off, our training partner has an overhook. How do we do this? We pull this guy in and we lock up with our overhook in place. Now we use that 2-on-1 lapel feed and we fight to get our hand as high up as possible. We use the biting method so that my thumb comes up to the same height as his ear. From this position, we heist and come up. Here, let's put your head down, Placido. If I pull too tight, I can't get my 4 fingers in. So what we do is we lift with our hand so that my 4 fingers go in, and I use the biting method to fix them up. As Placido tries to recover from here, I keep my head over his head. We just throw our legs over the top, and from here, the strangle is immensely tight. Okay, so one more time for another angle. Training partners here in front of us, and we're working down on the floor. We take a cross grip, we pull, and that gives us the overhook. Now we get a hold of the other lapel, and we feed it across, and we use a biting method to get our hands in place. Now, as we come up off the floor, we heist, we lift long enough to get our hands in, and our elbow comes in close to our body. So my 2 elbows come in very, very tight. And from this position, we finish. Look how my foot goes here on the hip, second foot goes high over the back, and that enables us to turn our body and get our strangle step. Okay? I'll just demonstrate to the camera for a second. Just on your knees here, facing the camera. First one. Okay. My hand comes in, and we fight the hand up as tight as possible. So Placido will tell you, even before I begin, it already feels like there's like 60% of the strangle is on. Now, if I put too much tension, I can't get my hands in. So I have to release tension, and we push up so that my hands go in. Then we use the biting method to fix our grip in place. We bite with both hands until they're set. My elbow comes in. The more flared my elbow, the less effective we are. So we crimp our 2 elbows in. I put my head over my training partner's head. Then my 2 hands do like a curling motion. And it's that combined with our head position, good elbow position, that creates a strong strangle. Then when you sit and add your legs into it, it comes on immediately. It's highly effective. Okay? So this is Kata Jiu-Jitsu, a very, very effective addition at point blank range when there's chest to chest contact rather than the extended hand contact that typifies most Jiu-Jitsu entries. Now guys, you all know I'm a huge fan of sumigeshi. I think it's one of the truly great moves of the sport of Jiu-Jitsu, and one that I want you all to be good at. Here's some good news for you. It combines incredibly well with the Kata Jiu-Jitsu that we just looked at. What we often do is form a kind of distraction with the Kata Jiu-Jitsu, with the sumigeshi, which leads into the Kata Jiu-Jitsu. Looks like this. We've got a training partner here in front of us. He's on 2 knees. That's already telling us that sumigeshi is a good option. Instead of going for our training partner's belt, as we so often do, with gi and working from there, we're going to lock up our training. Let's rotate this way. We're going to lock up the same grip that we saw in the previous move, where we take our training partner's opposite lapel and we grip in just like so. Now, as we work to get our hand up nice and tight, we're going to go hunting for our training partner's sleeve cuff. And from here, very often we will attack with a good old sumigeshi. Quite often, you've got athletic opponents that get their elbow down to the mat, and you try to lift them over with sumigeshi. You're like, oh man. And it just doesn't work. He goes down to his knees, and from here, you feel like it's failed. Whenever we see that, we just post, come up, and we turn a failed sumigeshi straight into a successful Kata Jiu-Jitsu mat. Okay, we use this all the time. So, once again, training partner in front of us. We go through. We draw this guy into a situation where we can get to an overhook. Second hand comes in and we lock up. Once we get to this position, we try hard for sumigeshi and it doesn't work. So no problem, we come up, lock, and we pull this guy straight down and into a good strangle hold for a nice finish. So one more time. Training partners here in front of us. We do a good job of pulling this guy forward, getting to that overhook. We do a good job of setting out that second hand, and then from here we try hard for the sumigeshi. We really try to cheat this guy over, and he's tough, he's athletic, and this doesn't work. So we quickly pop up, lock everything in over the top, and then just drag this guy into a second strangle and finish. Okay, and you'll find that this combination is a very, very effective way of operating. There's a small variation of it that looks like this. We use a garami type action. We go in on our training partner. We lock up. We get our our strangle hand in place. And then from here, we try hard to control this guy at the wrist. Now we put our foot on our training partner. We try to push them out. They recover. Don't quite go over. No problem. We come up and heist. We fight to get our hand inside. Our foot around the corner. Second foot goes over the top. and we strangle for the finish. Doesn't matter whether it's sumigashi or hisaguruma. We create a distracting sweep. Your opponent goes to base out, leaves his neck open, the head goes down, you heist up, get your grips, and finish. Now, we've been putting a lot of emphasis on jujijime as the #1 method of finishing with the jacket on whenever you're in bottom position for older athletes, when you're fighting younger, fitter, faster, more aggressive athletes who are on top of you. You will recall that we're basically saying to you 90% of whether you succeed or fail is going to come down to your ability to successfully place the first strangle hand. And if you can get it in place, you're going to finish a boatload of people. But if you can't get it in place, it's going to be very hard for you to finish. So an obvious question here is, okay, what if I'm fighting a tough guy and I can't get my hand all the way around behind his neck? What do I do now? That's when the loop strangle comes in. Let's position ourselves here. Okay, the big thing we've been trying to push on you, is we always want to get our hand as far around the corner as possible. And the more we're able to get our hand around the corner by turning bladed shoulders, getting angles, etc., the more successful we're going to be. Pretty soon your opponents are going to be leery about your ability to get that hand behind the neck. And when you first set your hand, they're going to start positioning themselves and resisting in ways where you cannot get the hand up. So they'll be putting hands on your hands, and as a result, you can't go up any further with your hands, okay? In these situations, what we're going to do is we're going to use this weak-looking grip to instead take our elbow up nice and high. The only way you can get your elbow really high is to get onto your side. So my elbow points up almost like a high elbow guillotine. If I'm flat on my back, I can't get my elbow up. So the most important thing for a good loop is that I'd be on my side. I'm on one hip. Okay, that way my elbow can point up to the ceiling, and it's going to make all the difference with your loop strangles. So in a loop strangle, it's the exact opposite of jujijime. The hand is low and the elbow is high. In jujijime, the hand is high and the elbow is low. So they tend to complement each other extremely well. Whenever one is denied, the other will almost always be available. So in a situation where my hand is relatively low, what we're going to do in this situation is drag our training partner's head down towards us. We're going to come in and put our elbow behind our training partner's head, and we're going to bring our elbow high. My hand is going to penetrate wrist deep inside my own forearm, just like this. Don't go in with your fingers, go in with your wrist. And then you're going to fall onto your side, like so. And it's from here that you're going to get good strangle. Okay, from another angle. Right now we're just showing you the hand work, guys. Pretty soon we're going to show you the leg work. It's a whole different story. But first you've got to get your hands. So here we are. We go shallow with the hand, the exact opposite of jujijime. From here we bring everything down and we go elbow deep here. It's not wrong to go with your hand, but it's not optimal. You want to come in with your elbow. Then from here, as we drag this guy in towards us, look how our whole hand penetrates through. Okay? Then we fall not onto our back, but onto our side. And as a result, the hands perform very, very well with it. Okay? Now, so far, we've only looked at hand positioning. Now we've got to incorporate our legs. I've got some good news for you. You can use a variety of leg grips, and they all work very well. Close guard is superb, because now your opponent can't even move, can't even defend himself. Realistically, however, it's going to be hard for you to get close guard on every one of your opponents. Even a half guard is more than enough. Just stabilize his legs, okay? And perhaps best of all is to throw your two legs over his shoulders. Don't worry, I'll demonstrate all of them right now. Okay, first method. We go in on our training partner. We drag our man down towards the floor and we start to get our hand into position. Now we're just going to throw our two legs around our training partner. And from here, we're on our side and we get our strangle, okay? Again, the key element is this idea of the high elbow position. Everything comes across, and with that elbow up high on our training partner, the whole wrist comes through. And if the prospect goes to pull away, we can just close our guard around behind our training partner and get to our strangle. So let's have a look at that again. We go in on our training partner and start to lock up. We've got that initial shallow foot position, hand position. And then we go in and we get our grip in place just like so. We force the head down to the opposite side, and then we fall over onto our side, and we just lock up our feet. And this gives us a very, very tight strangle. Okay, so that would be the closed guard option. Now, the second one is a very realistic option. In fact, I would say the majority of loop strangles in competition are finished this way. Our foot is between our training partner's legs. From here, we go in and we catch our training partner, we feed the head through and get it in place. And all we're going to do is just lock around our training partner's leg with one hand. Notice how I'm on my side, and as always, we're punching our whole wrist through so we get a good tight strangle hold on our training partner. So once again, training partner's in front of us. We've got one of his legs between our legs, and we focus on getting that initial grip. As we push and pull with our training partner, we go in, bring his head down to the side. Now we fit the head in, and our whole wrist goes around the corner, and we just throw our legs over our training partner's knee. And as a result, we get a very, very tight strangle. Okay. Now, the one which I believe is, all things considered, arguably the best of them all. There will be many times your opponent's hands are going under your legs as they're looking to scoop your legs, etc., etc. Okay. In these situations, we go in on our training partner and we get his head down to the side just like so. As always, we're looking to get our whole wrist through underneath, and we're just going to throw our legs over the top of our training partner to get the strongest loop of them all. Wow. Where both legs go over your opponent's arms. Okay, that puts his head right down into the breadbasket of your hip, and from there the strangles are incredibly strong. Okay, to a degree where it's one of the strongest strangles in the sport. So once again, we start off, training partner in front of us, and we get that shallow grip in place. As we work from in here, we often see the opponent go in and grab those legs. We pass everything across to the opposite side. We focus on getting the whole wrist inside like so. Now we just throw our legs over the top, and from here, it gets caught up in the hip. And it's a very, very strong strangulation. Okay. If your opponent should capitulate to his back, and some of them will do this to try and relieve pressure, don't be intimidated by this. Just follow them into the mounted position and continue to strangle. Looks like this. We go in on our training partner, we bring everything across to the side, and then he capitulates to his back. Just follow into the mounted position, and the strangle works just fine from there. Okay, that's a common response in competition, so be ready for that one. Just follow them to the mount, and it's done. Okay. Now, I'll just quickly revisit the most common method of finishing with loop strangles. This is half guard. This is the one, it's not the strongest position, but it's the most common position, the one you're most likely to be using in sparring. So we'll just finish with that. We start off with our 2 feet around one of our training partner's legs, and we go in and get our first grip. It's nice and loose, so you can start to push, pull, etc., etc. You can play with your training partner's balance, and then when you see the opportunity, we just come straight up and lock everything in. Now we just lock our legs around our training partner, plus it goes the full way, and we just push the head down into the hip. Okay, everything down to the hip. So we lock, the elbow goes high, and we feed our hand wrist deep all the way through, and we just push everything down into the hip and finish. Okay. So these are very, very realistic ways to operate. I'll just quickly go over the relationship between the two strangles. Okay, first, if we can get our hand all the way in, it's Jiu-Jitsu every single time. Okay, it's the best strangle of them all. If I can't get my elbow down and my opponent's starting to threaten to post, then we go through and we quickly lock up the Jiu-Jitsu with both of our palms facing ourselves. If my opponent manages to go underneath my elbow and come out the other side, then the onus is on us to close up and go into baseball bat strangle variations by spinning underneath my training partner. If I cannot penetrate deep with my strangle hand, then we're going to go shallow here. We see our opponents in a position where now we can attack with the loop strangle. So as we disturb our training partner's balance, we come up with our whole elbow and fit everything through. And now everything goes across and we get wrist deep inside our training partner's legs. From here, we just lock up a quick half guard, push everything into the hip, and the strangle is set. So those are relationships between our hand position and our strangle. Once you start to understand where to go with your opponent based on where you see his hands, his head, etc., you're going to finish a lot of people with these methods. They rely on the one thing that older athletes keep as their careers extend out into the future, which is your grip strength. Okay, work daily on your grip strength. I always recommend, you want to be a master of strangles, throw a gi over a bar and do your pull-ups using the lapels of the jacket. That gives you a very direct sense of the hand strength and the rotation of your wrists, which will start to translate into very, very strong strangle grips, so that when you get those grips in place, you'll be able to finish people regardless of where they finish up.